speaking of MAGA morons, let's talk a little bit about Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg stayed pretty silent in going after Joe Biden or Democrats for the last 4 years. He's very silent. And then all of a sudden, a week ago, he donated $1 million, which is pennies to us, to Donald Trump. Why did he do that? Well, he did that because, in a way, it's a smaller version of a copycat system of Elon Musk. He did that because he knows it's beneficial for him and his company if he takes the side of Donald Trump. Because Mark Zuckerberg has no backbone either. He only cares about his bottom line. He only cares about how much money Facebook makes and his investors. Very similar to Elon Musk, maybe just not on a big a scale as what Elon Musk has done. So he donates $1 million. Then he shows up on Joe Rogan's show yesterday. Why is he all of a sudden doing Joe Rogan's show? Well, so he can trash Joe Biden because he knows he has a listener of one in Donald Trump. Have a listen to this.
So at the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And I'm generally pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. We're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration.
People in the Biden administration. Are you going to give us a name? I find it interesting, Mark, that after you donate $1 million to Donald Trump and he's a week outside of getting back into office, now all of a sudden you want to criticize the Biden administration. Okay. Do you have any emails? If somebody in the Biden administration, as you claim, which I don't believe, was forcing you to take stuff down or threatening you or whatever term you want to use, why didn't you record any of those conversations? You're Mark Zuckerberg. Clearly you have the technology to do that. Why all of a sudden now are you sharing this? And when you say people, that doesn't really narrow it down. Oh, well, there were people in the administration. Who? Give us a name of somebody in the Biden administration that put that pressure on you. But Mark Zuckerberg didn't do that. He doesn't have any emails to prove that. He doesn't have any phone calls because apparently he didn't record any of the calls. And he doesn't have any names. All we have is Mark Zuckerberg's word. Now, everybody on the far right didn't care what Mark Zuckerberg had to say for years. Now, all of a sudden on social media, they're posting this clip. And all of a sudden now they believe Mark Zuckerberg. Let me be very clear on this. Mark Zuckerberg is a liar. I don't believe him. Is it possible that people made some good points within our government and said, hey, this is misinformation. Ivermectin doesn't do this. This is that information. We recommend that you don't put that. That's possible. I'm not going to deny that. But when he talks about all these Biden officials that put all this pressure on him to censor people, where is the evidence? Oh, well, I had a phone call. Oh, really? Joe Rogan actually asks a really good question. Doesn't press him on it, of course, as I would, but he says, who? Who was putting this pressure on you? Oh, just people. People in the Biden administration. What people? Give me a name. Who were they talking to? Did you record any of the phone calls? Do you have any of the emails? Of course he doesn't, because he's lying. Now, you might be saying, Brian, why would he lie? Because he knows Donald Trump is in office the next 4 years, and if there's anybody that can hurt Facebook in his bottom line, it's Donald Trump. So he wants to play nice to Donald Trump, just like Jeff Bezos, who has been attacking Donald Trump for years, and now all of a sudden he wants to play nice with him. I guarantee you this interview doesn't happen if Donald Trump wasn't reelected. Never happens. If Donald Trump wasn't reelected, Bezos doesn't cover his bases and doesn't play nice with Trump. Certainly Mark Zuckerberg doesn't. These people are liars. All they care about is their company and their investors and their bottom line. Bow to the king. They don't care about anybody else. It's so obvious to me, but now all of a sudden everybody on the right, they believe Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, Mark, show me the proof. Show me the proof. Now, if Donald Trump loves what you're saying, show me the proof. Who did you speak with in the Biden administration? You didn't record any of these phone calls. You would think if somebody in the government, or in this case, allegedly, somebody in Joe Biden's administration was pressuring you unwarranted, that maybe you would record some of these conversations. Why doesn't Mark have any names? Why didn't he record any of the conversations? Because it's unprovable. He's never going to give out that information. He shows up on Joe Rogan's show for one reason and one reason only, to bash the Biden administration so that Donald Trump, he's seen in good light when it comes to Donald Trump. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. Mark Zuckerberg is a lying piece of turd. That's what he is. And the fact that his wife is actually, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, in the medical field makes this even more embarrassing.